Welcome to my very first Lost. Season 2 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important if you aren't caught up to the point where I am a rewatcher and watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. I've already watched 3 times, Lost 3 times. I watched it when it was airing live, starting with season 5, then I had to work my way back, and then I watched it in 2014 and 2020. The last 2 times I binged it and really didn't let the show resonate. I'm taking my time with watching the show now. I'm watching 1 to 3 episodes per week, but I'm not the only one that's watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who you see in my comment section on Dexter stuff, Lucifer stuff, and Breaking Bad stuff, is actually watching Lost for the first time. With that being said, let's not discuss anything past this episode, but let's certainly discuss this awesome, amazing show in the comment section. So with all that said, this will be Lost, Season 2, Episode 1, the Season 2 premiere. The title of this episode is called Man of Science, Man of Faith, and this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we start with a man getting up from a bunk bed and enters numbers onto an Apple II computer. Not a fan of anything Apple except apple fruit, maybe. He gets dressed and begins his day as the camera kind of pans around to the surrounding rooms, which contains an assortment of objects dating from like the 1960s to present time, at least present time back then. He puts on some music, begins an exercise routine, has a shower, makes himself some breakfast, and he injects himself with something from one of his shells. I'm not sure what that was, but I still don't know to this day. I should Google it and see if Google tells me. But he is actually suddenly interrupted by what seems to be an explosion, and his whole underground home shakes. Well, I guess that's kind of spoiled stuff. Stopping his record player from playing, and then this man runs to arm himself and uses some kind of security system made up of a series of mirrors to look down the hallway as his gaze reaches further and further through the complex. It continues up a shaft that reaches high up and eventually to the faces of Jack Shephard and John Locke. So this is inside the hatch. There's somebody living in the hatch, some guy, and it appears that he's only by, it's just him, unless we haven't seen anybody else yet. Hurley, Hurley is repeating the numbers. Jack expresses reservations about entering the shaft, the hatch, noting that they should wait for the sun to come up before anything is done. John Locke, on the other hand, feels that their entry should not be delayed. And then we go to a flashback early in the morning at St. Sebastian Hospital. 2 victims of a car accident are brought in. The female victim, Sarah, who eventually becomes Jack's wife, is first pushed through the AR on a stretcher with a piece of steering column sticking out of her chest. Jack walks in as the surgery immediately turns to action. The paramedic informs Jack that what had happened. Tire blew, car jumped the divider, went head on with an SUV. As Jack asks where the driver of the SUV is, a second stretcher containing a character named Adam is brought into the AR, and Jack has to make a decision whether to operate on Adam or the woman. Jack focuses his attention on the woman, and as he saves her life, Adam dies on the table with the time of death at 8:15 a.m. 2 of the numbers, 8:15. The woman is saved, and after Jack is about to leave the ER, she mumbles. The intern questions what she said, and Jack says she said she has to dance at her wedding. Remember, we saw a flashback of Jack and Sarah's wedding, and she's like, I had to dance at my wedding. So Jack leaves, and the woman continues to mumble and the same words. Back on the island, Hurley asks why we blew the hatch, and Kate points out that the back of the hatch door reads quarantine. At the caves, Shannon and Saeed search the jungle for Vincent, who has run off. They find Vincent in a clearing and attempt to catch him, but he runs off again. The two are separated, and while alone, Shannon hears the whispers of the jungle. Those whispers. Walt appears, dripping wet and speaking backwards, says, "Don't push the button. Button bad." When Saeed returns, he finds Shannon on the ground, but Walt has disappeared. We remember what happened to Walt in the last episode. The end of season 1, we had the guy on the boat say, "We're going to need to take the boy." That's the last we saw of Walt. During the walk back from the hatch, Hurley shares with Jack his story about the numbers inscribed on the outside of the hatch, but is disappointed by Jack's response. Hurley tells him that his bedside manner sucks, dude. And then we go back to the flashback later when Jack returns to check up on Sarah. She asks the fate of the man she hit, and Jack tells her that he died in the ER, and Sarah begins to cry. She's confused as to why she can't feel anything. Jack says, or Jack, I should say, tells Sarah the probability of her regaining her ability to walk is extremely unlikely. Christian Shepherd interrupts the two and calls his son over to have a word with him, and Christian actually chastises Jack's inability to give hope to people, saying people are more inclined to hear that 1% chance that everything is okay. Like, it gives them hope. Jack tells his father that to tell Sarah anything different would be giving her false hope, and Christian says it's still hope. I kind of agree with Christian in this point. Like, give them some sort of hope. That way your reality is not bleak. Even though it probably will be, at least you have hope until you're told that it won't be. Back to the island, upon reaching the caves, Jack explains the situation to the survivors, promising them they will be alright as long as they stay together. Jack lets Charlie know and the group know that Arzt didn't make it. No sooner does Jack finish the speech than Locke appears carrying cables and says he's going into the hatch. Kate asks Jack if he believes if everything is going to be okay, and Jack, "Yes, I do." Kate says, "You did a good thing." Kate says she's going to the hatch. Jack has, back to the flashback, Jack has a word with Sarah's fiance Kevin, and they discuss her future. Jack says Sarah may need professional care for the rest of her life, but Kevin is focused on whether they can, or whether they will be able to make love. So that's all he cares about, is making love, and yeah, that's unfortunate. And then Jack is getting prepped for Sarah's surgery when when she calls him over and tells him she knows she will never dance again. Like, she's like, "I know I'm not going to dance again." She jokingly reassures Jack that she may be able to roll around instead, and invites Jack to her wedding. Jack is actually taken aback by this sudden invite and tells Sarah that he is going to fix her. So Jack has given Sarah hope. And then back on the island, Jack has arrived back at the hatch. Locke wants Kate to, or I should say, Kate has arrived back at the hatch, and Locke actually wants Kate to go down first as she's lighter. And Locke knew she was going to come. Like, he just knew Kate's adventurous side would take over and she would leave Jack to come to that hatch. And then while Locke is easing her down the shaft, Kate realizes that there is something in the hatch, and Kate mysteriously disappears when there is a sudden burst of light within the hatch. The cable is pulled from Locke, and as Locke yells for Kate. Back at the caves, Jack arms himself, deciding that he is going after Kate and Locke. At the hatch, he finds no one there. Back to the flashback, after the surgery, Jack takes a jog at a stadium. He notices another man who is jogging up the staircase next to him. Jack races to catch up to him, but he rolls his ankle and falls. And then this man that's been running in there comes to Jack's aid. "Are you all right, mother?" After I just lost my place. After taking a look at Jack's ankle, this man reveals that he was almost a doctor. After he asks why Jack was running like the devil was chasing him, he discusses Sarah's procedure and how he made a promise that he's not going to be able to keep. This man wonders out loud whether he actually did save her, but Jack tells him it would be a miracle. And then Jack doesn't believe in miracles, and then this man's about to leave, and then gives a final bit of advice, and he says, "Lift it up," referring to Jack's ankle. And this man introduces himself as Desmond, and he says, "Good luck, brother. See you in another life." We will hear that quote again in Lost. And then we go back to the island. He goes down in the shaft, Jack, and finds a maze of passageways. He comes across a colorful mural painted on a wall featuring the numbers 4, 8, 12, 16, or 4, 8, 15, 16, 24, 42. Yeah, the numbers. And there's some 108 prominently in the center of the sun. He also discovers a spot where the key to the Halliburton case he carries around his neck is pulled up, attracted by a strong magnetic force. Interesting. Finally, after being surprised by a bright light and loud music, he enters what appears to be a underground geodesic dome. It contains an array of computer equipment from various decades, including this Apple II computer. And then as Jack is about to use it, Locke appears and tells him not to touch it. And then Jack raises the gun and says, "Where's Kate?" And Locke does not answer, as the resident of the hatch, the guy that's been down there, has a gun pointed at Locke's head. And then we go back to the flashback. Early the next morning, Jack is sitting next to the sleeping Sarah. She wakes and asks whether she is alive or not. The two have a brief conversation, which then leads Jack delivering the devastating news he wasn't able to fix her, and Sarah asks if Jack is yanking her chain. And she asks, why can she wiggle her toes? Jack tests her legs and feet and asks if she can feel it, and Jack and Sarah, strangers at the time, become very emotional together when they realize a miracle has happened and Sarah will recover. She will be able to dance at her wedding with Jack. Back on the island, or back at the hatch, I should say, same thing, right? Locke tells Jack to put the gun down. This gunman threatens to shoot Locke if Jack doesn't surrender. Jack refuses, instead taunting Locke about his destiny, and Locke says all roads lead here. Finally, the gunman steps out, and Jack recognizes him and says a single word, "You." It's Desmond, the guy that was in the stadium running, or not stadium, but field running with Jack. So, pretty good episode of Lost. Desmond is going to become a very important character on Lost. One of the better characters, and has one of the better episodes on Lost. A lot of people's favorite episode. Not mine, but it's one of the better episodes, that's for sure. So I'm going to give this episode a 9.0 out of 10. Obviously, Jack Shephard is the character of the episode, hands down. The other character of the episode, I think, I'm going to give it to Sarah. I know she's not featured a lot in Lost, but she is important to a degree, and I thought she was good. Obviously, John Locke was really good, and we didn't get a lot of Desmond, but I think Desmond was very intriguing in this episode. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please don't forget to Hulk smash the like button. Otherwise, I'm going to have to send John Locke after you, and he'll have a knife in his mouth, and he'll take you down. No, he won't, but, share this video with a friend, especially a friend that likes Lost. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section, and let's discuss this awesome, amazing episode. Of course, the legendary Crazy Coffee Man will be in the comment section as well. No spoilers after this episode. Let's just talk about everything before this episode and this episode. And then last, but certainly not least, don't forget I should tell you to rate the episode and let me know who your characters of the episode are. And then last, but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You are watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.